Welcome to episode 8 of Truth Seekers. I, of course, am Bryan Radzin, your host, and been going pretty good. 8th episode so far, so let's get it going. Hopefully, it continues for a very long time. I very much enjoy doing this. So, today I'd like to talk about hypocrisy. Much of it having to do with our government, sure. Bureaucracies, our big companies, our corporations that not only ship jobs overseas, but expand as big as can be. The old adage, if you're not growing, you're dying. Hypocrisy in business, hypocrisy in politics, but most importantly, hypocrisy in ourselves. See, there's a little known fact in us being human that we're not perfect. We're not robots. Well, this isn't a little known fact. Everybody should know it. We can't be perfect. We aren't perfect. We weren't designed to be perfect. So naturally, we're going to have some hypocrisy within us, some hypocritical aspects where we don't completely live by our principles. I've heard it described before that either it's extremely hard or next to impossible to live by your principles. I've heard, and more than likely some of the closest people to get there, be your Martin Luther King, your Gandhi. But even people like this weren't perfect. They were human beings. And not that it shows hypocrisy, but it shows that even the people that were thought of to be the greatest human beings on earth weren't perfect. Gandhi was great. Not going to take anything away from what he did. He, helped India be free. Took him a long time to do it, too, but he did. Of course, I've also heard that he's made some disparaging, there's some disparaging quotes about Muslims from him out there, too. So he wasn't perfect. Martin Luther King liked to sleep around, apparently. Not taking anything away from what he did. He was one of the greatest people to ever live. But was he perfect? No. Nobody is. Nobody is. So in our own lives, how can we prevent this from becoming an even bigger problem than it is? I know I've probably said it before, but it's living our authentic lives. We have to be true to ourselves, true with the words that come out of our mouths, out of our hearts and bodies and souls and minds, because it will attract others that feel the same. We're living our true lives, they're living their true lives. This prevents hypocrisy because we'll know if someone's telling the truth or not. So what is hypocrisy? Hypocrisy is somebody doing something that's not representative of themselves or the larger group. For example, politicians saying they want to save the people, save the planet, save whatever it is the people want them to save. But do they? Do they the second they get into office? Do they completely forget about everything they told the voters? No. Do they just stop paying attention to it? Yeah. So, they stop paying attention to it when they get in office. How does that translate down to our personal lives? Well, what about if somebody comes up to us and says something, or asks for our advice, or anything, and even if they're a friend of ours, and, we act like we care, and we act like we're listening to everything they have to say, and who knows? Maybe we do have the solution for them. But have we ever gone into that situation and just not believed it? Not believed what we were saying? We told this person to do something that we wouldn't do ourselves, and maybe that's it. do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? Part of the golden rule. Maybe the golden rule is the opposite of hypocrisy. Authenticity sure is. So, if politicians are just looking to screw us over, step on our necks, control as much as they can control, gain as much influence as they can while stuffing their wallets, is that all they care about? Maybe. Is that all we care about? I hope not. See, if we want to change our system, we have to change the way we think. I know, this is starting to sound like a Tupac song. Not this whole piece, but that line. We got to change the way we eat. We got to change the way we live. We got to change the way we treat each other. Because the old way wasn't working, so it's on us to do what we got to do to survive. Yeah, that's a Tupac line. Tupac was great. What did that mean? I mean, to really improve things, we have to change. We have to change. We have to be more real. We can't be so hypocritical. Now, is it impossible to completely stamp all that out? No. But the more conscious we are of doing it, the closer we're going to get to our goals. You know, it's a very hard world we live in right now. A lot of uncertainty, whether it be politics, the virus, the getting by day to day in a quasi-capitalist, socialist amalgamation of, you know, how can we screw over the people? But see, that's not all of it, is it? There are some good stuff. There is some good stuff. But if you look at the Constitution, maybe that's where it starts. Maybe that's where the hypocrisy originally started. I mean, even in the Constitution, not everyone was looked at as equal, even though it said it. It said, all men are created equal, right? And are given certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, was that true for, 3/5 of a person if you were a slave? Or what if you were a Native American? You weren't even counted. So how is that all men are created equal if you're white, aristocratic, slave-owning, land-owning white males? Protestant too. No Catholics. How do we move forward when this was our beginning? When our beginning came out of hypocrisy, came out of a place of, you can be equal, but you can't. Does that make any sense at all? No. Do we need a new constitution? Maybe. Is it more likely that we should make adjustments in the meantime? Yeah. Think about how hard it is to pass anything these days. Even stuff both sides agree on. Like needing this new stimulus, the new coronavirus stimulus, whatever the hell they're calling it. We need that. Everyone agrees that we need that. Too many people out of work, too many businesses closed, but can they even pass that? Can they even agree in their parties over what that is or looks like? Oh, well, we can't saddle our children with too much debt because, their grandchildren will be paying it off. I know I've heard this many times, and I may do a whole episode about this, but what the hell does that even mean? I mean, really, what does our grandchildren are going to be paying it off mean? So when they become adults and start paying their taxes, that means some of their tax money will go to it? What does that mean? Does that mean entitlements will be cut? Programs, unemployment, disability, food stamps, welfare programs, this kind of thing. Is that what's going to be cut? Is that how they're going to be hurt if those things are cut? Well, if you're telling them down the line that's going to hurt them, if it's cut then? What about all the people it's hurting when it's being cut now? Hypocrisy. See, if we ever really want to move forward as a people, as a country, as a society, as a human race, we must unite, we must come together, but we must be real to each other. Even if we don't like what the other person has to say, we must be real. Do we care about progressing? Do we want to move forward? Do we want to become better? Do we want to live up to the creed of our nation? That we haven't yet? Maybe. How would I know? I have my opinion. I think we can possibly get there. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of interpersonal communication, a lot of introspection, and of course, lots of inspiration, like always. Inspiration is the key. We find it many places. We can find it walking out the door. We can find it looking out the window. We can see it on the beach. We can see it at the river. We can see it in downtown. We can see it in a crowd of people. Although any kind of crowd of people right now probably isn't a good idea. Something I personally struggle with because large gatherings of people, like-minded, putting their energy together, is exactly what this world needs. That energy flow that's more concentrated when it's connected. See, one person can change the world if they get others to pay attention. Or that one person can change the world if they convince other people that they can change it too. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Convincing ourselves so we can convince others. Is that how we live more authentically? Well, hypocrisy. I mean, his hypocrisy, telling illegal immigrants that they have to leave and we're going to deport them all and you have no human rights. We're giving you terrible conditions on purpose. Giving putting 500 people in a cell and tell them, you know what? Don't shower, be close to each other. The virus, whatever, who cares? You're not people. You're not humans. But then at the same time, the reason those people are coming over here in the first place, jobs. What about all the people that pay them less than slave wages to work in the fields and jobs and things that Americans wouldn't do? Well, they would if they paid better. And that's the key, right? Yell out one ear how you will want to halt all illegal immigration, and on the other side, allow them to keep flowing in because you like the cheap labor. Because you know that if you really did outlaw all illegal immigration and Americans had to work in all your fields, you know how much more it would cost you and how much worse the job would probably be done? Now, I'm not advocating for farm workers. I mean, advocating for farm workers, yes, but not in their current situation. They need to be able to come here and work if they want. Because think about it. If we're trying to be less hypocritical and more authentic, so we can move forward as a people, move forward as a species, and achieve all the dreams and goals that we've always put our minds to. If we really want to do all that, not just keep endlessly talking and endlessly dreaming and endlessly this and endlessly that, keep going on like an endless loop forever, like reruns of a show we don't want to watch anymore. If that's all true, then wouldn't you say that somebody escaping a war zone, drug lords, warlords, corrupt government officials, sometimes they're all the same thing. Someone escaping all that risking life and limb on the way, having to negotiate with other criminals to give them passage, where they may or may not disappear, may or may not have their women assaulted or raped, may or may not disappear themselves and never be heard from again because they're just the little immigrants. Who cares about them? They risk all of that to come to a country where a lot of people don't want them. Where a lot of people are protesting saying, hey, we don't want you legals around here. We don't want you. Well, guess what? Someone risking all of that to come to a country where some people really don't want them there. The courage, the stamina that would take to risk your entire life, to risk your, ego, for lack of a better phrase. To be okay with being put down if it gives you a job. Now, nobody's really okay with being put down, but if they can support their family, some people are such at dire straits that they will do anything. Now, risking your life and limb to travel thousands of miles to come to a country that may not really want you, to get paid in a job that doesn't pay what any citizen of that country would allow themselves to get paid legally. Risking all of that. Wouldn't you say that's about the most American thing you could do? Putting all your personal shit aside to do what's good for your family. That's authentic. Not people railing against it and then letting them in the back door. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. Well, I think it does. I think it's all in the plan. Now, this is just one aspect of hypocrisy that puts human life down, makes it seem like it's just trash to be thrown in the bin to be collected at the end of the week. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not. What's real is the humanity that person felt, that they would risk everything for their family. We move forward by seeing each other and ourselves. When we look in the mirror and see that reflection staring back, do we like what we see? Are we honestly looking at it? And if we do like what we see, how are we using that positive energy to better those around us? Are we just keeping it all for ourselves? Because if we are, we become more of the hypocrisy. Because we say we want to help people, but only if it's convenient. It's like allowing protesting, but only if it's convenient, right? I support Colin Kaepernick's right to protest and all. But he could have done it at a different time, in a better way, and didn't have to put down the troops. Oh, Lordy. These people don't seem to realize that this country was founded on the right to protest. Was founded on protesting, actually. England, remember them? Boston Tea Party. All of this stuff was protesting. Do you think it was comfortable for England when they did that? Do you think it was comfortable when we started a war with England? Do you think it was good with them for that? No. Well, when people say that, you shouldn't kneel because it puts down the troops and everything they've fought for, but about my father and brother that died in World War II, don't they deserve glory, recognition, and not to be spit on? Well, of course. No one's doing that. All they're doing is standing up for what the flag is supposed to represent. The land of freedom. In the Constitution, you were allowed to petition your government for a redress of grievances. Do we want to be free? I want to be free. I want to be real. I want to have less of this bullshit catch us up so we can actually move forward and, evolve. Well, It's going to take some effort, a lot of heartache, love, perseverance, courage, understanding, tolerance. I mean, how many more words can I come up with here? It's going to take a lot, but it's worth it. Why is it worth it? We just have to ask ourselves one thing. Do we still want to live in the land we've always professed to want to live in? Or do we want to let it fall by the wayside? Do we want to let it crumble under the auspices of despotism, like people who designed the Constitution in the first place said we always would? Do we want to prove them right? Or do we want to prove them wrong? Are we able to be governed by anything other than despotism? I certainly believe so. Once we pull our heads out of our asses and learn to love ourselves like we were always meant to, so we can love others like we were always meant to, so they can love others still like they were always meant to. That's what's real. That's the authenticity we all need to reach. All that other bullshit, forget about it. Forget about it. There's only a few important things in life. Nothing that's fake is important. I mean, it's important as a learning tool so you know what to avoid, but we need to concentrate on what's real, what's in front of our face. And right now, there's a lot more love and light than we think. We can do so many more things. We can go so much farther. We do have the power. Power to the people, right? Well, we're the people. Let's get on it. And let's stamp out this hypocrisy so we don't have to keep learning these lessons over and over and over again. We can do it. We really can. We just have to love ourselves enough to take the first step, which is being authentic ourselves. Well, I love you all, and we'll talk soon. Remember to like and share this video and hit the subscribe button. Links for all my social media, my website, and where to buy my books are in the description below. Love and gratitude will find a way. We just have to keep the conversations going. See you all soon.